Wow. Okay. Yes. Lego Cast, episode 149. Clearly, nothing is wrong. Everything is fine here. I've got with me Loki, Darth Loki from RezoCast. Thanks for jumping in last second. I know everyone was expecting Mama Gator to be here, but he had more situations with the flooding at his house that he had to take care of, so definitely understand him not being here. Hove was already, Hove and Wilson both already had trips planned, so things got crazy. Loki jumped in. Loki, thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
I'm always down to be your 2 a.m. booty call.
I should have expected that response, honestly. Like, he said he was trying to channel Hove the whole time, and so, like, I get it now. Like, oh, man. Well, bear with us as we try to figure out what is happening with the stream. If any audio levels aren't right live, I know in the podcast we'll have it all sorted out on iTunes and stuff, but if y'all are listening live and anything crazy happens, like what happened with the intro, just let me know. We'll take care of it. But first of all, Loki, it's been a little bit. How have you been, man? What have you been up to in life and in gaming?
In life, pretty much the same. You know, me and River are living it up and playing the games. I kind of dedicated myself hardcore into Destiny and doing a lot of the PvPs, actually, which you obviously helped a ton there. Got my first few PvP pinnacle weapons, Recluse and
Nice.
Invoker, working very, very close to Mountaintop now that it's about to get nerfed and everything. But just been going hardcore after, you know, all the Destiny stuff with cross save, and it's been amazing switching to PC. Oh my god.
I wanted to ask you about that. If the cross save had changed a lot of the way that you were playing and all of that.
It is such a better experience, and I have always condemned PC snobs, but it's like I get it now. They realize everything about the game on PC is better, and it's like I swapped over to PS4. I think it was 2 nights ago. Just trying to work on some Mountaintop stuff, thinking it might be better, and I could only get through like 2 games.
Wow.
Before I had to go back to PC because like my eyes just couldn't adjust.
That's crazy.
PC to PS4.
It's so funny because I had the opposite experience between like console, and not saying it's better or worse, just saying like adjusting wise, I had such a hard time going to PC, but going back to console for some reason was easier. And I think it was just a control thing. My controller was funky the way I was trying to play it on PC, so of course that was a bummer. But I'm sure if I had a legit setup like you, it would be fine and PC would feel amazing. Are you playing? Did you say you were playing with controller on PC?
I am. Yep. River and I both are using our Xbox Elites.
Nice.
That was a big draw to us to be able to go to PC. So when we talked to Monk about setting up PCs for Division, being able to use our Xbox Elites was really, really nice because we were just not set up for mouse and keyboard, and at almost 40, learning a new controller pattern like that seems very daunting.
Yeah, for sure. No, I feel that because every time that I jump on, actually Hove and some other people got me to jump on this past week on mouse and keyboard onto PC, and gosh, I was so bad. I played with Monk actually, and I think Nerfs as well. So a few people were in there from Rezo because we just jumped on it. It's so easy with the clan chat. Just like, hey, what are y'all doing? Can we jump in? Yeah, okay, sure. You know, and then we just jump all in together. We have a full Crucible team, and I'm in last place the whole time because I'm trying to figure out this mouse and keyboard thing. And I was like, fine, I'll switch to controller. And even though it was like a little laggy for me the way I had it set up, I still did 100 times better than I would have with mouse and keyboard. My gosh. What? So you got your Recluse, and you were going for Mountaintop, but you didn't get it yet. You said.
I am not quite there. I think the only thing I have left are the double kills.
Nice.
So,
and that is the longest part. How far into it are you?
It's hard to say after the, I don't want to call it a nerf, but the change
Mm-hmm.
to it. But yeah, we're setting up a fire team for tomorrow to I think River and I are gonna try to match against each other and get teams of 8 for lockdown and do the cheese.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Cracky in chat just now, he was talking about the PC load times. No more making coffee and a meal while you wait to go to the tower. But for real, I have experienced that because normally I like, that's when I do stuff is like, okay, I'm going to the tower. I'm going to go get a snack. I'm going to go get a drink. And you're like there and you're like, wait, no, I needed to go do stuff though.
That is no joke. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go to the tower. Cool. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna make a drink. Come back. Still loading in the tower. Not so on PC.
That's probably the biggest thing for me, honestly. Well, we do
honestly,
have
honestly, let me. I just want to say that
yeah.
one of the biggest things for me was the UI.
Oh yeah.
Being able to get in, switch stuff around. I went through and soloed Shattered Throne on my Titan over this past weekend, and I don't know that I would have been able to do it on PS4 just because it takes like 5 seconds to get into and switch things. So I kept switching between rally barricade and the blocking barricade.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been just too much of a waste of time trying to do that on PS4 where I could do it in just bam bam on PC.
It's funny because
especially that ogre fight.
You hear that argument a lot whenever it's like, PC guys can do things that console players can't. And while a lot of that is kind of just whatever talk, because you can do a lot on controller, and you see it both ways, like especially in PvP, it's like, that person's using a controller on PC, that person's using mouse and keyboard. But you cannot argue that switching weapons in a PvE activity like that is just so much faster and easier on PC. Like it's insanely fast, and you just don't even have that ability on console. So it just brings a whole new tool set to whatever you're trying to do in PvE. So we have a ton of TWAB stuff. There's so much stuff. We're gonna get to that in a second because we got Crucible changes to talk about, which I've seen Reddit on fire for, and and Twitter some too. It's kind of funny, but also there's like changes to the Glory playlist. Like you were talking about going for Mountaintop, and I know you already had the rank, but that stuff's changing. It's going to be a little easier and also just different, because in some ways it's easier, but also in some ways it's just different. The way they were talking about how your glory should align with your skill level too. Like that was all really interesting. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. And I'm curious to get into it. As far as my week, before we get going, I haven't done much gaming at all. Like I said, I jumped onto PC Destiny. The Mars event is going on right now. You know, the whole community is trying to get all these Mars objectives done. As a community as a whole, and I haven't really jumped into that much because I don't know, it's almost like, you know, before a new DLC drops, there's a point where you push and you're like, I'm getting ready, and so I'm all in and I'm getting excited, and there's also a point where you kind of like prepare yourself and you're like, I need to stop because I'm about to go all out and I know I'm gonna no life this, and so I just need to take a breather. And I'm kind of at that spot where I have just started like playing more music, and sometimes like there are just several nights where I just don't even like turn on a screen. I'm just like writing music or doing something completely different than gaming, which has been really good for me. I know lately when I've talked about not playing Destiny, it's been to like I jump into PUBG or Apex or something like that. But lately it hasn't even been like gaming at all. I just kind of like for the past week took a little bit of a break. And it was really refreshing. I like to do that, and I know it's going to be even more refreshing when I jump back in to play it, because Destiny always feels so good. That's the best thing about the game that everybody comes back to, is it feels so good to play it. Like all the controls feel so smooth, and you notice it the most whenever you haven't been playing for a while. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, speaking of the Mars event, I didn't have a lot of draw into that because I had spent a good chunk of the summer chasing Wayfarer and spent a lot of time on Mars.
So you're like done with it.
like the last EP weapon, and then I think it was the Braytech Winterwolf that just kept eluding me. It was just forever before that thing would drop from Anna Bray. So I finally got that probably about a month ago, and I was like, man, I'm never going back to Mars. And they announced the Mars event. I'm like, well, all right. So River and I did a Nightfall Tuesday, and been kind of just messing around on Mars, helping out with some of the escalation protocol,
Well,
working
that's cool.
on catalyst, like exotic catalyst kills and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun. Hopped in with Nava and Delirious, helped Nava get the Osprey that he needed
Oh, nice.
from the Norcus strike, and that was the last thing he needed for Wayfarer. So I was like, all right, I did like 10 Nightfalls tonight. I think I contributed enough, but it's like it just doesn't have the draw to me to go in there having everything already and having spent so much time in there already this summer chasing that stuff already.
Yeah, no, totally. And I'm not even the kind of person to chase Wayfarer or any of the other titles that require you to like go for these very specific things and have just a chance of getting this or that. Like I have to have this competitive sense of going out. That's the reason I only went for what was it, Unbroken, because I knew it was like a really hard competitive thing that I could go for, and I just don't have any interest in grinding out any other. The only one that like slightly piqued my interest was the one for this year, the 2019 title, because I just think the Roman numerals look cool for it, and it didn't require like a ton of grinding. It was more like stuff you would kind of do anyway if you just like playing the game, you know. So I got close to doing that, but I just didn't make the final push for it. Figured I'd save myself and make myself even more excited for Shadowkeep. And I'm looking forward, they released, I think there was I don't know if it was a gaming article. I don't think Bungie announced it. It might have been released at one of the conventions recently, but they released some of the new titles I think I saw. So I can't remember what they were, but it's exciting to think about like what new titles we could potentially get, what new things we're going to be chasing, because there's already going to be so much armor to chase, which is kind of the beginning of the TWAB, is like, or not the beginning, but one of the parts of the TWAB is talking about all the new armor that's coming with Shadowkeep, because they show off a ton of, actually let's go ahead and just start there, because there's so much stuff and it's awesome. We've got,
we're starting at the armor.
Yeah, let's just start at the armor. I know that's in the middle of 12, but I don't care. It's just there. It looks so good, and there's so much stuff. Because yeah, there's all these tedious PvP changes, but I'm hyped just thinking about the armor right now. I need to make sure that the armor isn't showing up on stream, which I just thought about. I could just throw the armor on stream whenever I want to. See that, Hove? I'm a streamer now. I can do what I want. Anyways, so they show off the moon armor. They show off the raid armor set, the armor set from seasonal rank rewards, and then a premium season rank, which they talked about last week with the how the normal ranking progression and the seasonal ranking progressions within the annual pass are going to work. And then also the Iron Banner set, and then the Eververse armor set as well. Do you have any of these that like stand out to you? Is there anything that you're like, oh, I'm gonna go after this, or I'm upset about this, anything like that?
Obviously the raid armor. It's part of that's because it's got the really cool glow going on with it. The Dreambane from the moon looks really just, I don't know, awkward, especially as a Titan main. It's
really,
you look like an astronaut. It just looks so.
Oh, I really like it, dude. I can't wait to combine the Titan astronaut stuff with the the premium season rank rewards, like the wings that the Titan gets. Like if you combined those two, like astronaut helmet and some wings, I think there's some awkwardly amazing matches you can pull off there.
Oh, definitely with the Titan wings. It's like apparently we're going to be able to fly.
I see. I wish that this was a hint that we were gonna get like Twilight Garrison back, because that would be incredible. Just put it in an ornament. Not an ornament. Put it in because we're gonna have the thing. Destiny's changing so much, man. It's so hard to keep track of all the different things. But the artifact gives you, you know, these random, not random, but these mods that change out every year. What if they gave one that was like Twilight Garrison perk within the artifact for a season? So you only have it for a season. Just see how it works. If it didn't work right, it'll be gone the end of the season. But if everybody loved it, Bungie, you know, knows to keep it around. So I don't know. But
I feel like that's a good way for them to actually test certain things.
Yeah.
And see how they work, knowing that it's only going to last a season. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. Cracky mentions in chat, is anybody disappointed that they showed us the armor already? And I get, you know, being a little disappointed, but we had seen so much of it already. I didn't mind it being presented in this way. But as far as like the fact that we've seen so much of it, you know, not really. I think it's because it's so different to me, at least for armor. I would get it if it was all the new weapons and what they did and all the different things to chase. But because it's the way Destiny armor works and the way that you can put different shaders on it and mix and match it with other armor, it looks completely different by the time you're finished with it, in my opinion. Because there's some armor that I get that I'm like, I would never use this, and then later on I'm mixing and matching stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks great with this one other Titan set that I thought was way too bulky, but it looks awesome together with this. So it doesn't really bother me to see this stuff right away. I get, you know, KB Ninja was saying in chat that the raid armor doesn't like seeing that right away, which I definitely understand that, because I do feel a little bummed out that they're showing raid stuff, because it's like pinnacle, like kind of the mystery is taken away a little bit. But I feel like they almost had to show off that there were going to be the glowy, what do you call it, the chrome stuff on it, basically. Chrome's the wrong word, but that's what they've used for it before, isn't it? Like the glowy stuff. And so go ahead.
I was gonna say that raid armor is so vexy though. I mean, it's hard not to show that off.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
You're vexy and you know it.
Well, which is interesting because the Vex is the theme for the season, which I guess I'm still in my mind trying to separate seasonal content from Shadowkeep content, because we're only getting one raid, and so it looks like this raid is related to the seasonal content season of the Undying. But Shadowkeep is like Hive focused a lot, right? Unless maybe the Vex are more involved than I think. But it showed off a ton. You know, we got the whole, like, it's the Shadowkeep that we're going to, so on the moon. So it's just it was so interesting to me to see that the raid was I knew it was gonna be in the garden, the Black Garden, but just to see it all be Vex themed stuff and not kind of Hive themed, I'm happy about it. I love the way the Vex stuff looks. I think it looks amazing.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be a little bit different in the fact, like, if you compare it to Forsaken, like the Forsaken drop was just Forsaken, and then you had the seasons. Whereas with Shadowkeep, you're getting Shadowkeep and the first season at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're going to have 4 seasons in a year, whereas during Forsaken, we only got 3, which started with, you know, the Drifter and all of that after 3 months after Forsaken.
Yeah. Gosh, man, I love all this armor. I'm just scrolling through it, and this is the first time, I think. Yeah, I think this is the first time that every set of Titan armor, I like all of it, which is crazy, but like I just see so much. Even if I don't like all of a set, like for instance the Iron Banner Titan arms, I don't really care for, but I love the helmet, the chest piece, the leg, like all of it looks, maybe not the legs as much, but the chest piece and the helmet look awesome. And the chest piece for the premium season stuff looks amazing, and so does the helmet for substitutional armor set looks awesome. Just the normal season rank stuff, I think it looks pretty cool, and I think the other classes look good too. I just think Titan has it best this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I play all three characters, so I'm always looking at all three, and ah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like hearing the fact that there's so much other gear that's going to come back as
Mm-hmm.
2.0. Like one of my favorite gear sets was the Escalation Protocol gear as a Titan.
Yeah.
That just looked so cool, but I only ran it for like a week or two
Uh-huh.
because I was also running a ton of raids at that point, which were all, on the Leviathan. So I was mainly running Leviathan gear
Yeah.
because of all the perks that came along with that.
Yeah.
So, it'll be really interesting to be able to really focus on having a good looking character while also, doing whatever you want with the mods for
Yeah.
that character.
Yeah, for sure. Doesn't it kind of look like one last thing about the armor? Doesn't it kind of look like in the premium set that like in PvP people are gonna accidentally start aiming for the stomach rather than the head because it's got the Vex center piece like where you shoot the Vex milk and it looks like my eye is drawn towards that over the head. I guess eyes up Guardian is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that would kind of be on you. It's like I love the Warlock helm. It's almost got the old school like Anubis look
Yes.
to it. It's like almost there, but not quite. So I'm definitely gonna be looking for that one.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I guess we can move on to another section of the tour because so much stuff. So we'll start at the top, the Mars stuff. We're getting really close already. They've updated these numbers that they put off here. They put out new numbers today. Bungie's main Twitter account did, and they're closing in like one of the strikes, Nokris, I think on the TWAB, it was 60,000 completions out of 150,000. And I think as of today, it was like 90,000, like almost 100,000 already. So we're knocking it out. Like, we're going to be golden soon enough. Because at first I was like, man, I'm not doing my part. Like everybody's tweeting out, but I think we got it. It's okay. So that's cool to see.
I think we were averaging about 5 minutes for a knocker strike.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just running nightfalls. Just
Knocking it out. So you did your part, is what you're saying.
I think I've done probably 8 to 10
Nice.
nightfalls. I mean, it's not a ton, but it's not bad.
Nice. Well, they also have the Bungie Bounty. They're doing a strike this time on Xbox Live, Heroic Strike playlist, which this is interesting thinking about this now that, if you're not mainly on Xbox anymore, you can still go and like use your cross save if you have an Xbox to go over and play on Xbox just for this Bungie Bounty on September 10th. Which is kind of funny to think about. But what was really cool about this is Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, is playing with Pete Parsons, Bungie CEO. And if you match them, you're playing with like two really awesome people in the gaming industry. That would be crazy,
Titans of the gaming
Titans,
industry.
yeah, too.
I certainly feel like I can use that word there.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. So that's cool. The new emblem looks cool. What do you think about the new emblem? Did you see it?
I have never gotten a Bungie bounty. I've tried a couple times, just never been able to match up. A lot of times because they do it when I was at work.
Uh-huh.
But like even with this, I obviously don't have Xbox, but it's going to be interesting. Like I'm looking forward to watching this and seeing how some of these really popular people just in the gaming industry run strikes and see how they get matched with a random third. Because I feel like whenever like me and River are running strikes, it's like I feel like Luke with Yoda in the backpack. It's like I've generally got like 80% of the kills, and I'm speed running through. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how these guys do
it. That would be. I'd be curious to see how that would go too. I've never as well gotten a Bungie Bounty emblem. There's been a few times where like I feel like if I would have been in the right place at the right time, I just wasn't in the right place at the right time is what I'm trying to say. Because like back in the day, I think it was right before you were in Resolute when they did the trying to remember the what was the game type that was Six Trez's big thing, back Rift, when they did Rift back in D1. He did one with Claw, and I think Hovey was in, and they even changed out some Rezo guys, I think. And then some Bungie people were in there too, and it was just like I just wasn't right place, right time for that. It's just like a bunch of stuff like that. Or I've tried to get in on a stream before and just like couldn't quite find the right people, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm with you. But then again, it's like once you get that Movie of the Week emblem, it's like it's almost like I should just let somebody else have the opportunity to get this Bungie bounty emblem, I don't want to hog all the emblems.
Oh, nice.
So let's get to Crucible stuff, because that's really the big thing here. I mean, there's the super changes and stuff like that's big too, but Crucible's changing a ton. I didn't even recognize like that matchmaking screen. There's so much stuff there. I can't like they list out everything, but everything has new icons too. And so like I know the Rumble one, and I can recognize the Control one, and I know that the one on the right's going to be Glory, and Crucible Labs, but I couldn't tell you anything about the 4 like on the outskirts, which one's which. They say that and we talked about this in previous weeks, they just kind of clarified some things. Like they've added a weekly, not just a 6v6 rotator, but a 4v4 rotator. And so those will rotate things like Clash, Supremacy, Mayhem, Lockdown, and Countdown. And so pretty, like we talked about how we were pretty excited about these changes, and I kind of dogged on Supremacy for a while because I just hate it so much. Do you like Supremacy? I'm just curious.
I don't dislike it, but it changes up your gameplay so much. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember watching the Supremacy reveal way back in the day, and it is such a it's a more up in your face game style because you're trying to go after the crest. Yeah. Like if you're sniping, you're almost a detriment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's much more of a shotgun fusion, hand cannon, that up close and personal kind of style gameplay, which, at some points it's good because if you're used to just hanging back and sniping or using scouts or whatever, it makes you switch things up. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's so different. Like I want to know I'm going into that game mode ahead of time so I can just prepare my loadout.
Yeah, for sure. Which I guess you'll know that you're going into a mixed bag when you go into those playlists. And, one thing that I kind of, I guess, rolled over previously when we talked about it is having that 6v6 control playlist be kind of at the center as the main. Like, that is probably my favorite game type in Destiny as far as just what I would casually like to play. And so it's nice that that's front and center, and that's what they're encouraging everyone to play, So I don't know. I think that's cool. I think I kind of, glanced, like kind of slid over that one last time, but it's a pretty big deal to have that as an ongoing playlist that exactly what type of game type you're going to get every time you play it.
For new light players, I think it's perfect because it gives you the objective-based aspect of it.
Yeah.
So it does help learning maps. At the beginning of new seasons with new maps, I always tried to run a lot of control I feel like it helped me learn maps, learn, how the flow of the map went and, specific lanes and the kill zones and all that kind of stuff.
It's great skills for going into competitive too, because whenever those zones, the flags, because a lot of times I'll just call out like he's at B flag, he's at C flag, and if you're used to playing control, you kind of know where those are more easily. Now we're getting to the really controversial stuff here. Everybody get ready. I'm curious what chat's gonna say on this too, and what kind of comments we're gonna in the YouTube. I kind of gave a spicy take on Twitter, but we'll see what happens.
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, hold on to your butts. Okay, so they want to create variety and PvP experience for season to season, which is one thing we have asked for continually, both, weapon changes and maps and all that. One way that they're doing this is to bench some maps for the season while they're out of rotation. If time allows, we'll hope they'll improve how they play by tweaking spawn areas, ammo spawns, and overall structures so they return better than before. The first 4 to be removed from all playlists are Dead Cliffs, Legion's Gulch, Retribution, and Solitude. And before I finish, I'll just go ahead and finish because that's not it. I know some people can just stop there and just read those, but there's more changes than that. They made passes on specific playlists too, and so Equinox is now only in Scorched, Mayhem, Breakthrough, and then Firebase Echo is only in Supremacy, Mayhem, and Breakthrough. And so while they're also removing a few maps and specifying what maps are in what playlists, they're also introducing Widow's Court, Twilight Gap, and the new map Fragment, which is they include a screenshot of it's a Dreaming City meets Infinite Forest looking map. So that's all the map changes. Loki, what's your hot take?
I feel like I've been saying this for a while. A lot of the maps that were designed for 4v4 have just become a hot mess with 6v6. They weren't designed for 12 people from the beginning, and there are certain spawns that just have an immediate sight on heavy or a quick spot on B, and if you get that spawn, you're at an immediate advantage. We ran into it when we were running comp, helping me get Recluse, and just listening to you call out those specific things like, oh good, we got the good spawn, we're gonna go right here. It's like, well, why is there a good spawn? There shouldn't be a good spawn.
Yes.
A and C should be the same, and it really isn't. And I've noticed a lot of times now, especially with snipers coming back into play, that I'm just getting spawn sniped, because there are the sight lines just from the middle of the map to a particular spawn zone. So, I think a lot of these initial maps that came into D2 really do need some work. And it could be as simple as something as a rock that blocks you as you're spawning in from the middle of the map. There's a lot of little things I feel like that could help along those lines. And I hope that this is, kind of that step.
Yeah.
For that. So whether or not they needed to be taken out of rotation might be a bit much, but maybe there's been enough feedback from the big streamers and big time PvP players that I don't really see maybe it is worth it. But I mean, there's definitely some maps that need some work.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree. I think really, like what you said about like it's designed for 4s, and some are even stream, and some are even made for the specific game type, not just 4s, but like they're made for Breakthrough, like the ones that have been limited to Breakthrough now. Firebase Echo is the primary one I'm thinking of, because I can't tell you how many times I played Rumble on Firebase Echo and I was like, where is everyone? Like it's so desolate, and you spawn on one side of the map and it takes you 2 minutes to get, or a minute, I'm exaggerating, but it takes you a while to get to the other side of the map. And by that time, somebody's gotten 3 kills on where everybody is, just because of you spawn, away from everyone when he spawned close to everyone. So that one's the one that I'm like, it's made for, they had 4s in mind, but it was Breakthrough specifically, where you're trying to gain ground on a map. And if it's so big that you are actually gaining ground, then it doesn't work in things like Rumble and Clash and stuff like that. So it's cool to me to see those specific maps limited to those playlists. Like Equinox is huge, and it was funny to me that people were still complaining about Equinox on Twitter whenever it's confined to Scorched, Mayhem, and Breakthrough. Like, is that a big deal? I just don't get it. Like, who's specifically going out there to play Breakthrough that is upset about that? I don't know. If you're one of those people, I guess, let me know. But for the real thing that people are upset about here is, I think Dead Cliffs is the main one, because Solitude, I didn't even really have a problem with Solitude. I played that a lot in comp, and it felt fun. Like, it was fun to me. And and the thing, here's the bottom line for me, is I don't mind them the goal of this isn't, we're going to take out all the bad maps. That's not what they said. The goal was, they want to create some variety in the PvP experience from season to season. It wasn't, we're going to take out the trash maps and only give you the good ones. That's not what they said. While they are going to improve these maps and bring them back better, is their hope, the goal is to bring variety to the PvP experience. So I don't mind them taking out these maps and giving me Widow's Court and Twilight Gap and this new map Fragment. That sounds great. I'd love that variety. Of course, I'd love to keep them all if they all felt great, but if they want to make some improvements to them and take them out for a season, that's cool. Dead Cliffs is the one that I'm the most sad to see go, but I mean, like I said on Twitter, like, no one can deny that spawn was awful on A side. Like, it was, I've never seen more clips of people getting sniped in the face in a row than that alleyway. And they just continually keep spawning as you're looking at them. Or another example is if you're playing Rumble, that was the place to be. You either there or at C flag where they're spawning left and right, but that's harder because there's different levels that you have to aim at. And so if it's the A side spawn and they spawn in the back in that room back there, you can sit in that alleyway between heavy and A flag and literally like go to the spawn, snipe that guy in the face, turn around, fusion rifle the guy coming at you from heavy, turn back around, pull your sniper out, the next guy's ready for you, lined up, and you have just enough time to reload and get your next shot ready right before he spawns. It was like the timing was perfect. I was tweeting a non-pig about it on Twitter because it was like amazing how perfect the timing was to take on a person, reload, take on a person, reload. And I can't tell you, I think that might have been my first ever Sum of All Tears was on that map, just because it was so easy to just boom, kill, boom, kill, boom, kill. And it was great, but it was terrible at the same time. Like, it sucks to be on the other end of that.
Obviously broken.
So I went off on a bit of a rant there about these maps, but like, I can't believe that people are like, this doesn't need change at all. And I get it that like, this is fun. That's what people are missing, is this is fun. And that's a valid thing to complain about. I had fun on this map and you're taking it away from me. I get that. But if we're getting introduced these new maps for a season, they're going to accomplish their goal of the PvP experience being different. If we experience it, like, I don't mind while it like kind of gets me upset to see everybody complaining about it now. If people are complaining about it when Shadowkeep drops and we have all this new stuff to do and all these new maps and all these new modes, and people are still like, why did they take away Dead Cliffs? I miss it so much. Then that is valid, like Bungie will learn something from that and they won't do it again potentially. But I don't see that happening. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's the same as far as, pretty much I feel like every map has its little things, but there are certain maps, like I think you just made a perfect point as to why some maps needed adjusting. Because you could really exploit the spawns.
Yes, absolutely. And it made you feel guilty as a player when you shouldn't. You're just playing the game. It's just, that's the ideal spot to be. Like, you shouldn't not be there. It's just for the person who's on the other end of it, who's stuck in that spawn, or doesn't, or maybe just doesn't understand that, like, there's these optimal like places to be, and there's no, like, Bungie is very clear about, like, if there's an optimal place to be, they kind of make it clear, like with a flag or with heavy or something, that this is the place you want to control. But there were so many spots, especially for Rumble, that were like prime locations, and if you didn't know that that was the spot, it was really difficult to counter it. And so I had a blast, but I felt kind of guilty every time,
I'm sure you did. I don't know that the average Destiny player knows those spots though.
Maybe
I think
not.
that's what they're. I think that's what they're trying to gear this to.
Exactly, exactly. And I don't mind that as another player who did know those spots. I definitely don't mind that. And I'm excited to see what they come back and change too. Like I don't see why this is something to be upset about when they're going to potentially improve it and bring it back better. That sounds great. Dead Cliffs is one of my favorite maps I look forward to playing. So if they're going to make it more awesome, that's great. I'm excited about it.
What are your thoughts on heavy?
Oh, that is a great transition, and I am concerned, but I'm not like mad about anything, you know? It's just when I read that heavy ammo shared, and I get, you know, that's similar to the D1 experience of like everybody gets heavy and it's around for a little bit, but it makes it very clear in here, to me at least. Tell me if I'm reading this wrong or something, but if the other team picked up the crate, it will turn red to indicate you cannot pick it up during this period. When that time expires, the crate despawns. So in D1, both sides got heavy, right? And there was just this big, heavy, like, battle it out thing. Am I wrong about that? Like, isn't that the way it went?
Man, I'm trying to remember. Was there only still one heavy spawn, or were there two heavy spawns?
I think there were two.
Back in the day.
In
I think
D1.
there were two.
In D1.
Yeah. And now there's only one. So that's going to be a huge, area of contention because whoever spawns that, and I'm seeing bubbles getting put around heavy things right now, just in my mind, because controlling that heavy is going to obviously be important because if your team grabs it, the other team can't get it.
Yeah.
While your team has, I believe, 7 seconds to pick up those bricks.
Which I think would be more balanced if there were two of them, the way there was in D1, because that was so fun because you could do this risk reward thing of, do we go for both of the boxes? And and that was the time at which you got the huge multi kills. You know, how many times did you get the heavy first before the other team did, and you shoot your Gallahorn rocket? Or use your, super at the 6 Guardians running for that heavy box. Like that was awesome and created really fun moments for, players of all skill levels. Versus if there's just one heavy box, I'm just concerned that it's going to create the same loop we're in now where all these people pick up heavy. And then if it's like a team of 6 playing together, they could just use those rockets one by one instead of like all at once. It just makes me really hope that they fix like the Wardcliff glitch where you shoot and you kill somebody, but it's still firing because it takes a while to fire the full burst. And then that person kills that person. They drop a heavy brick, somebody else comes, and it just keeps like recycling that heavy. Unless the one thing I could see them doing to like kind of make this all a lot better is if they don't drop heavy anymore. And I haven't seen them say anything about that, but I can't see them not doing that because that we all complained about heavy and now they're adding heavy for the entire team. Like that seems like the opposite response you would expect from all the complaints.
They said shared heavy, you're going to have less ammo.
Okay.
That's very vague.
Yeah, unless like if everybody's using truth rockets, is that like 2 instead of 3, or is that 1? Even still, if 6 people get truth rockets and everybody gets 2 instead of one person getting 3, that's 12 rockets versus 3 you used to have. So I just don't get it, which I'm, I want to make it clear I'm not complaining about this yet. That's just the one thing in here that I'm like, I wonder how that's gonna work. I don't really get it.
And also, they didn't address heavy drops as far as frequency. So Watts brought this up on DCP about, or is it going to be the same, amount of heavy drops per game mode and all of that? Are we going to have the same amount of time, or are they going to be less frequent now that it's shared? It's just, certain little questions like that could have a big impact on the game.
Yeah, no, for sure. The other thing, aside from heavy, which do not have shared crates in 4v4 and 3v3, we also don't have any word on how they're changing in 3v3. They did mention in a different, I don't remember what the setting was, but they had mentioned that they were addressing heavy in 3v3, like in competitive. I feel like this is just hearsay. This is just me saying this. I don't remember specifically, but I feel like I heard that somewhere. But they also didn't give specifics whenever they did mention it. I just know it's like it's on their mind. You know, they know. Real quick too, before we move on to the rank system for Glory, because that's some big changes we hinted at earlier. I just wanted to point out that with the maps, because they mentioned elimination turning to Crucible Labs, which we talked about another week in the podcast, and I'm super excited about. We thought when we talked about it before that Widow's Court and Twilight Gap were only coming to Crucible Labs, but the way they talk about it above, with the maps changing out, I think Widow's Court and Twilight Gap in the new map are coming to every playlist. That's what it appears to be. That's the way I read it anyway.
Oh yeah, along with Fragment, the New Jeremy City map,
which is cool. Like I think maybe what we misread previously was Widow's Court and Twilight Gap are going to be the exclusive maps played in Crucible Labs. Like you will always get those maps. Maybe the new one, but they specifically mentioned those two maps for Crucible Labs previously. So, and that would be cool, like to go to a place where you expect to play those maps and get that elimination feel. That's kind of exciting. And that they're involved in all the other playlists too. I thought they might be exclusive, and I'm glad they're not, is basically my point.
Oh, I'm looking forward to having a couple maps that I know really well.
Yeah.
With the influx of new light people.
Oh, so, yeah.
I've got a chance to at least have a few good games with me.
Dude, we're going to have a good time, man. No matter what platform you are on, if you have played Destiny previously to, First Light, New Light coming out, then you're in for a treat because there's going to be player protection when you jump into PvP for a little bit, but you're probably going to find some people that you're like, they don't know what they're doing. Like they're using some gun, mid rate of fire auto rifle, something or another, or high impact scout or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens. With the Glory rank system, they're changing your streak to not completely go away when you lose, and instead your Valor Infamy streaks go down by 1 if you lose, and your Glory streak goes down by 2. So you can still also, on top of that, you can still lose Glory but if your rank is at or below Fabled, you can't lose Glory if doing so would drop you below that rank. So you have like a floor basically that you will hit, which is, man, that would have been so nice whenever for all of us. I'm sure you experienced it too, even going for Recluse and stuff. Not whenever you just have a bad night, that way you don't bottom out, or you have a bottom to hit and you don't just keep going, so that feels really good. It feels really good to not lose your entire streak, because that always felt bad too. You always felt like you had to hold on to that 5-win streak just in case.
Or that 9-win streak.
Or the 9-win streak, yeah, dude. That was so amazing. The Valor Infamy streaks, though, was what I found, because I didn't expect them to do it with that playlist. I expected something like this for Glory, but not for Valor and Infamy. What do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think it matters, or
Valor not so much, just because that's your quick play kind of playlist. Infamy is interesting because it's Gambit related, and usually if you're going for Gambit Infamy, you're in it for the long haul anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it's just a nice little perk.
Yeah.
I guess obviously really, really important to the Glory.
I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, I felt like it was kind of unnecessary almost for Valor and Infamy. Like, I feel like we're gonna go too fast. Like, I get it for Infamy. Infamy is Gambit has always been said it's a competitive game type, and it feels that way. That's why it's so divisive, I think. And so that's really, for someone like me who struggles between thinking Gambit is fun and then hating the heck out of it afterwards. But it would make it more enjoyable for me if I was more easily progressing in it. But for Valor, I don't know. I guess I could see it if you're going, if they have, especially if there's more quests related to Crucible, and it's like you have like that Redrix quest where what you had to reset it 5 times, I think.
Oh yeah.
And so stuff like that would help.
Yeah, I got my Redrix about a week ago. So.
Oh, nice. What part were you on for it?
Yes. I mean, I was at the, I think 300 kills with pulse rifle, and then it just kind of progressed from there. And I was like, cool, 150 headshot kills with pulse rifle. I'm just gonna use this full auto kill clip bygones I got.
Yeah.
Kind of blew through that, and then it became the 25 matches of each, and I had, I think, 7 resets by the time I was at that part.
Dang.
So, but that was, because I had played a lot of Crucible this year. For me, I'll say a lot of Crucible.
Yeah.
But the triple weekends certainly helped.
Yeah, dude, I love those triple infamy rank up weekends whenever those happen. That was great. With the glory system, there's still some other changes to it, and this is the part that I was like really curious what you thought about, and I have no idea how it'll play out for myself, but they're mapping like people, because Destiny has always mapped your skill level to try and like not balance your matchmaking in terms of like quick play and stuff, but it was doing it in terms of like team balancing and things like that, which I'm not going to get into that, but they've been tracking that, and so they know like somewhat what your skill is, and they want your glory to match your skill, so that like towards the end of the season you should expect your glory to match your skill. I don't know. It makes it so interesting because then it's not a climb anymore. It's just a rating of like how good you are as a player, which I guess makes sense if you were gonna show off. Like in Halo, you had the 1 to 50, and if you were like, oh, I'm a 50 in doubles or in free for all or whatever, then it was like, wow, that guy's really good, and if you're 5500. Even now, if you were a legend, even without the skill level, I would still be impressed. But now they want to like make it reflect even more, and you win and lose based off of your skill, more glory or less glory. And in some ways, that feels wrong to me, because it feels less of a climb and more of a just like they're evaluating you kind of thing. But in another way, I do appreciate it because there were several times where let's just face it, in the glory playlist, there are some players that are S tier, that are like, like ZK Mushroom, Lumi, and trying to think of the guys that are just insane, like Ninja with Noel and the Pure Chill, all the guys that run together, Nightmare Titan, that are just like, if you face them, you're not gonna win unless you are S tier as well, which there are like 20 people on that level. So I get it if Bungie's saying, okay, your skill level, they have these 50 to 75. I saw Nightmare Titan the other day. He had his flawless emblem, not flawless, but your you made it to legend, and so you get that emblem that tracks your streak in glory, and he had like 80. Like it was like 80 in glory. And we were joking about that 9-win streak, but 80, can you imagine? So it might even have been above 100. It was some ridiculous number, and I was like, because I have a 21, I think, win streak, and that was like extremely lucky, like playing with just the best of the best, and to have like, I don't know, I just. And so my point is, though, I got off track thinking about how good some people are. But my point is that when you face those people and Bungie recognizes that their skill is like way more than you, and you lose, and it loses your glory win streak, you lose all these points, like, yeah, you'll go down 2 in your glory streak, but you won't lose a ton of glory points because it recognizes that they're S tier. Like, they're incredible. You're going to lose like just a few, less glory points based off of that, which makes more sense to me. You know, like that. That it feels more like. I'm trying to think because there's been other games that have rated. They've done their competitive ranking like that before, where you don't lose as much when you're losing to people who are just incredible. You know, but how do you feel about it all?
I'm glad you asked. I'm actually glad I'm here for this because when I read this, I thought of us.
Really?
Yeah, when we were running together to get me to 2100, you know, you pretty much led the top tier score every game. And I was handling my own, you know, I was like second or third
for sure,
but you were probably like easily, you know, 0.5 above me for every game. So it would boost you up quicker than it would me. So I feel like it would just have a better averaging, you know, it would put us, you know, in probably a higher group than it would have before, because you would have been ranked up higher based off of, you know, your performance. So I think there's a couple things there where it helps the really, really good players just increase those ranks quicker. So they're kind of separating themselves from the average players like myself quicker, which I'm not going to complain about. Get them out of my tier. But for the people doing helps, it almost hurts. Because it doesn't, if you and me were both starting out around 500 glory, you're going to get to 1500 a lot quicker than I am. And then you're going to be pulling up our, you know, competition. So it's, you know, I kind of get it. It's still going to have an averaging effect, but I think for, you know, those really good players, it's just going to help them get to those higher levels quicker.
Yeah. There's so many ways to look at this, because as you were talking, I was just thinking like about people doing helps and how frustrating that can be as well. But if you're helping, think about it now. Let's switch it around. Say you're Lynch, helping people get Not Forgotten, which he's gotten like what 50 now or something. He was in chat the other day talking about it.
He's over 75.
75. Okay, yeah, ridiculous number. Okay, so he's helping people. They're at lower skill level than him, you know, probably. And so, but because he's already at 5,500, he's not switching accounts or anything. He's just helping people with his account. He's facing top tier 5,500 players, but this other player is not at that skill. They're just growing in glory because Lynch is helping them. And so if they're at that lower skill level and they lose to one of those 5,500 teams that's really high that's facing Lyncher, then that other player he's trying to help won't go down as much. It won't hurt them as much, right? Am I thinking about that correct? I think that's the way it would be.
It's hard to know without seeing that data and seeing like how everybody's ranks work out. But I think at that, you know, level where you're talking around like the 5,000 level, like right now, there's very little fall off or drop off at that point. Like you were talking about, like, so you got me up to like 25, and I've just been messing around with going for Redrix, doing comp solo, and messing around with grenade launchers, you know, because you get triple going for mountaintop. I've dropped down to about 1,500 now. Because I'm going like 0.2.
Hey, grenade launchers will do that to you, man. It doesn't matter your skill level.
So, but you know, it's those kind of things where it's like, wow, I'm glad I can actually drop down. You know, going for that. Like, it would have sucked for me to be capped at 2,100 and that skill level and those kind of people right there. Like, you know, I'm glad I've kind of, you know, fallen down in those ranks while I'm going, you know, for running triple grenade launcher, because who am I killing with that right now? This is the one area, you know, normally, and they even said something about that previously, where they want to share their goals, and it's really important to them to, you know, that we know why they're making the changes that they're making. But they didn't really give a reason for this one. They
they I guess the reason is they want your glory. Their goal is for your glory to match your skill level. But it's just interesting that there was no like what is the feeling that players have or that they have that made them want to do that. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I just think it's a really interesting decision to make.
It's a very good thing for people that are trying to get better. One thing I didn't get out of that was like after each rank, can you not fall below that rank?
So not below Fabled. Not okay. Yeah.
Okay, so once you hit Fabled, you can't fall below Fabled, but if you hit the rank above Fabled, you can still fall below that.
I think below, it said below Fabled, I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Expected rank.
No, it says each rank through Fabled acts as a floor.
Gotcha. Okay. So Fabled, that's the floor.
Yeah, so that'll help.
Yeah.
People stay up.
True. So that would actually suck for you going for the grenade launcher kills, but
right.
Oh man. Well, that pretty interesting changes. We'll see how it all plays out. Time will tell, as chat is saying. So let's talk about some of the sandbox ability changes. Man, there's a lot here. There's some buffs. There's some nerfs. There's a really exciting buff for me. Like my class I feel like a buff. We'll talk about it. Night Stalker. Let's just go. I'm trying to figure out how I want to go through this because it's just a bunch of information. And I don't really want to just be a news source here because it's much easier to just read the TWAB. But Night Stalker is getting a change. Bottom tree and this is the one they showed off, I think, in the armor reveal stream. Isn't it? Yeah, So they're giving where Smoke Bomb grants invisibility to allies. It gives 1 stack of Heart of the Pack, which has been revamped to any allies that the Smoke Bomb hits. Grants 34 to armor, recovery, and agility. Gives weapon reload speed and handling. You can stack it up to 3 times. Increases invisibility duration from 7 to 8. Also, killing tethered enemies creates super orbs and increases agility, armor, and recovery for allies. It's got a new perk of damaging enemies with your grenade, reduces the cooldown of your smoke bomb, 6% per tick, and making allies invisible gives you grenade energy back, 17.5% per ally that you hit with your grenade. So that's kind of cool. You get like, if you make your allies invisible, it like incentivizes you to do that, to help your allies. So that's cool. And then the quiver, when you fire multiple shots of it, it actually deals massive damage to the tethered targets. It added a provisional perk to naturally be a part of the quiver, which is killing tethered enemies creates super orbs, grant stacks of Heart of the Pack for allies, and extended the range of Heart of the Pack from 20 to 30 meters. And then on top of that, the Shadow Shot super, just in general, top and bottom path, the damage increase from 150 to 250, which one-shot kills in PvP. Tons of people have been asking for that. Amazing change. Improved tether accuracy to nearby obstacles, and suppress on hit is more consistent. So that's all the Night Stalker, specifically Way of the Pathfinder stuff, but some top tree stuff as well. Did you have any thoughts on any of that?
I might finally run bottom tree, maybe.
I know, it looks fun. I'd like the synergy between like throwing your grenades, and as they showed on the armor stream, if you run something that buffs their smoke bomb grenade, the way they can do it more often, you can kind of continually just throw grenades, throw smoke bomb, throw grenades, throw smoke bomb.
Yeah, I mean, I've never run bottom tree. I mean, it's top tree and Orpheus rigs. That's what you do as a Night Stalker.
Yeah.
So
I think Windler used to run the shooting multiple tethers all the time, but that could be wrong. I don't know.
But even being able to, one shot
with
the multi quiver, it gives you, essentially like 3 shots to potentially kill, in PvP, which is just such a huge difference.
I wonder
to what it is now.
Yeah, I wonder if some PvP pros are going to start running that like as golden gun almost, because it said it improved tracking too around obstacle, like improved tether accuracy near obstacles. So I guess that way it won't hit weird shapes and stuff. I don't know what that means exactly, but it sounds more accurate. So,
but even if you miss, you got a tether,
right? Yeah,
for at least a portion of time there. So
that's pretty cool. Sentinel, Code of the Protector, top tree, is the one punchy boy that gives overshields to nearby allies. I actually don't run this one very much, mainly because Ward of Dawn is kind of useless previously, because every super could take it out. But now you get Weapons of Light when passing through it, and if you look at the super adjustment to damage buffs, it's the highest of weapon buff damage you can get, 35% for 15 seconds too when you walk in and out of it. 15 seconds is a long time in Destiny. So that's pretty crazy. Also, the melee kills that heal nearby allies heals them more. Buff from 10 health and 10 shields to 10 health and 20 shield, 50% increase. Trying to think if there's anything else here. Grants additional orbs, some small stuff. I think that's about it for that one. This is the one that's crazy to me. I don't get it. Tell me what you think, because when I read this, I read this a day late, and so I didn't see anything. I was surprised I didn't see anything about it on the internet, because I think it's crazy. Sentinel, Code of Aggressor, bottom tree. Shoulder charge that disorients nearby enemies. It now suppresses the target hit, and any enemy within 2 meters have to basically be right next to them. But still, like, so suppress, like, suppresses in, like, take them out of their super, or suppresses in because suppress means a very specific thing in Destiny, right? Like, so, and that says suppresses the target hit, and any enemy within 2 meters. And how many times do I go to, like, shoulder charge somebody out of their super with Peregrine Greaves, and I hit the person next to them and not them, but now I'll suppress them anyway? You know, that sounds like if that suppress doesn't mean just disorient like the Hunter Dodge does, then that sounds like broken. Like, that sounds really good.
Oh yeah, that's DFP right there.
Yeah, that
is a Destiny Fun Police. Just, I'm interested in trying that out in Mayhem, because I think that means suppress. Like, it'll take you out of your super.
I think it does too. Yeah,
there's gonna be a lot of pissed off people.
Dude, I can't believe that. Like, I thought for sure, because so I've been going through the different. I used to only run primarily Striker Titan in D1, and then towards the end of D1 I ran a little bit of Sunbreaker, but then in D2 I ran Thunder Crash for a while, but then I just ended up only running Sentinel. Like, even though I like using Peregrine Greaves with the Sunbreaker to do this, because it has the best shoulder charge. It feels so clean to do a shoulder charge with the Solar Titan. All the other ones feel kind of sluggish. But just overall, there's no denying that Sentinel class, being able to suppress supers in this meta, is so powerful. And so if you already can suppress someone with a grenade, and you have Peregrine Greaves and can kill someone out of their super, like, that is the ultimate combination. But then on top of that, now you have a shoulder charge that suppresses targets nearby, so I don't even have to run Peregrine Greaves if I'm worried about supers. I could run Armamentarium, get 2 suppressor grenades, and still shoulder charge people out of their supers. Like, so I have 3 ways to take down supers as a bottom tree Striker Titan. That would be crazy. That's nuts.
You just hate fun, don't you?
I do. Well, I hate supers. I love fun, just with weapons. Like in Mayhem, I'm the guy who I'll run tether or I'll run suppressor grenades, because I just want to use my gun. That's all I want to do.
Okay, yep, I hate you.
Fair enough.
Like, just let me use my air and toe.
Not even that. Sometimes I just want to snipe or have, whatever. I can't, because there's supers everywhere. Warlocks are getting a change. We're still on the buffs too. There's some nerfs coming too. I expected there to be a nerf to bottom tree Sentinel, but I didn't see one. Finished Warlock buffs though. Voidwalker, Attunement of Hunger. They're increasing initial explosion damage to 15% in the Nova Bomb, Vortex, and lingering damage increase to 15%. That's great. I feel like it needed a little bit of love.
Yeah, and then, nobody ran bottom tree on that.
Exactly. And then Dawnblade, Attunement of Grace, alternate super that creates healing buffing out for, we know it relevant. I'm reading the description of Wall of Radiance. Grants an additional super orb, so just a little bit more than it was. It equals out to the same amount as a super, any other super. But then the nerfs. So Night Stalker top tree, you don't deal as much damage to everyone tethered. It's going to be half of what it was. It was 100% to everyone whenever you shot someone in a tether. Now it's going to only be 50%. Now all allied players have 50% damage sharing on the tether. And then Night Stalker, Way of the Wraith, the middle tree, headshot kills while crouch, grant invisibility, and true sight. It only lasts 3 seconds, down from 9. Was that broken? Was that like really strong? I know wall hacks are good. Everybody like talked about how good it was, but I never I guess I never felt like that was affecting me. But also, I never play Hunter, so I wasn't using it and abusing it. It just seemed like something that made really cool clips, and I loved watching those clips. It looked really cool. But then I also saw people who saw those clips be like, oh, he's using middle tree Night Stalker. Of course he's getting all those headshots. And I was like, I don't know, it still looks cool to me. Like, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on it?
When I read that this was 9 seconds, I was like, fuck. Why was I stuck running a Titan doing this damn Redrix and Luna's How quest for the past season? Because I was pretty much stuck playing PvP on my Titans, knocked those out. Because they weren't, cross character. I'm like, 9 second true sight.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Well, and KB Ninja pointed out something in chat that, they only said true sight is switching. So invisibility is still going to last 9 seconds whenever you do a flawless execution. So that's a good trade-off, I feel like. If you're going to take one away, at least you're keeping the other. But I feel like then that gets kind of confusing I don't know, not really, because true sight's pretty obvious. You got true sight, it'll go away, whereas you'll stay invisible still. Like, that seems fair enough.
Still not a bad perk.
Yeah, exactly, which is great. You don't want them to break everything. You want it to still be fun and usable, so it's good. Shattering Strike, after performing a flawless execution, your melee attacks have a longer lunge range and weaken enemies. So when they made the change to flawless execution with true sight, it affected this your melee range, and it's only going to it's only going to last 3 seconds now, but this is just temporary. They want it to last 9 seconds regardless of true sight and invisibility. They just had some spaghetti code there that they got to fix. It's tied together, so you'll have that back later is what they're saying. Another big one. This one's pretty big. Instant reloading. Basically, this is kind of like the Whisper of the Worm, problem where you got this gun that kind of breaks the way the game should be played with reload speed. And there have been so many people who've made videos about this. I think Slarage had a video about it. Dado, I think, had a video about it, how instant reloading kind of breaks the game, and that reloading balances the game, and if you don't have that, then it's really difficult to balance the game. And so they're basically making Lunafactions and Rally Barricade just increase your reload time instead of automatically reload everything. And one of the reasons they gave for that was even like swords. Like, one of the reasons that swords are so great is that you never have to load them, but with instant reload, that swords never shine. So I thought that was interesting explanation. But as a PvP player, I don't think about it too much. it was something that helped me for things like Suros when I wanted to, or grenade launchers when I wanted to be really ridiculous. But it was more of just a fun thing. What about for you, someone who does a lot more raids than I do and strikes? What do you think about this change? Like, how does it hit you?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We actually had a pretty interesting conversation, me, KB, and Marcus. Last night we were, trying to figure out how this is going to affect the meta, and it's so hard to tell because they say, you're still going to have a faster reload, but without being able to test that and everything, we're like, all right, so what is Whisper now going to be? Come back to being the meta, just because you hit those crits, you just keep firing.
Yeah.
I did Shadow Throne, the final boss, with the Izanagi's Burden, with the Catalyst, and doing the hold in for reload, getting your 4 shots in one. I 3-shot the final boss. It just completely destroyed the final Shadow Throne boss.
Dang.
So what we pretty much figured out is that Whisper has a little bit better overall DPS, with the tractor cannon as well, giving a buff to elemental damage. That's a little bit extra as well. Right. However, Izanagi's is a primary. Right. So you could still run a heavy weapon. So we were like just running through a bunch of different scenarios thinking, it's really going to depend on where the boss is going to be, if it's going to be something that is snipeable, if it's going to have a nice big crit like Galvaron does, where you can just, spam grenades, grenade launchers with auto loading holster are going to be super, super good.
All right. Yeah. Which I think I have that on my what is it, Raven, the grenade launcher,
Swarm.
Iron Banner one. Swarm, yeah, Swarm Raven, yeah. I think I have auto loading holster, and I could be wrong. I'll have to go check.
But we're really thinking we're going to be heading back to the D1 meta of pop your bubble for weapons of light, and hey, I can finally wear my helmet Saint 14.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's not like warlocks are going to be useless. Even if the rift, or whether you got a rift or the Well of Radiance, you still get the healing buff. And so it'll be like like warlocks will be the healers, unless you're looking for shelter, in which you'll run in the Titan shield. But if you're looking just for weapons to fire, you run to weapons of light, get in the rift, like there'll be some synergy there, which is exciting to think about, the teamwork involved in that, rather than just that everybody getting my well and that's it.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about. It's like, someone pops a well, and then you pop a bubble like kind of right behind that, so you can just dip back in for your weapons, and then you have 15 seconds of that bonus damage, and now you can actually tether the boss,
right,
where you couldn't really do that before to get that bonus damage on the boss from afar. It's we're running through these scenarios trying to think of like, oh well, in King's Fall this would have worked great, but in Crown of Sorrows this would have worked better. We have no idea what we're going to be coming up against with Shadowkeep.
Right.
But,
yeah.
It's kind of fun and exciting thinking about new ways. I'm looking forward to not having just the instant reload and all of that. It was fun, but it was definitely broken.
Well, it's cool to hear your response to that then, because I thought you might like hate it. Like I thought you, as a PvE player, you might be like, this destroys all, because when I first read the buff changes and the way that and then this on top of that, I was like, man, they're really limiting what we could do before. But while yes, it is limiting, it opens up the doors for more synergy between the different classes and between the different weapons and various ways to play the game between various scenarios. And like you're talking about, like what's going to be next, and y'all just daydreaming about what's the best way to play. And I'm sure there's going to be tons of YouTube videos out on it soon for DPS, but That's cool that that's your reaction to it. Like I wasn't really necessarily expecting that.
Yeah, it'll be, we will find another way to break the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
This is destiny.
Well, speaking of breaking the game, super energy regeneration has broken the PvE side of the game for quite a while now. As I mentioned before, running Bottom Tree Sentinel just to, shoulder charge and suppress everyone that I could because there were far too many supers running around. And they agree they're going to change the way that supers work. They didn't do it in the way that I expected. I expected them to take away things like super mods, but they want to encourage actually the use of trading off one ability to get your super back, but overall everyone will not get their super back as fast because super orbs, masterwork orbs, kill super energy from kills and assists are all getting a nerf. So for orbs, super orbs and masterwork orbs, it's a 50% reduction. And then so now super orbs are 7% of your super. It used to be, I guess, 14%. Or wait, no, that's not right. That math's wrong. But it used to be, that's 50% less than what it was. And then masterwork orbs now give 2.5% of your super back. Kills now in both PvE and PvP have a 25% reduction. So kills on a player give only 3% in PvP, and on most enemies, PvE enemies, it's like 1%, minors 0.6%, elites 0.96%, that kind of thing. Assists are also 25% reduction. And I just want to point out that while reading these numbers don't really mean much on a podcast format, it means more to say 50% reduction or 25% reduction. It's really cool that they listed out how much super energy you get from every little thing. Knowing that kills in PvP give you 3% super energy is really cool to know that I have a specific number that I know I'm getting.
Yeah, this made me a little weary.
Really?
Just because I, being such a big PvE player, I remember the times before the Go Fast update. I was doing a ton of raids and early on in D2, a bunch of Leviathans, and it just felt, you didn't feel powerful. And the Go Fast update was one of the first big changes that came to that.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is kind of stepping back a little bit from that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm really curious as to know, are these changes more geared towards PvE or the, trying to lower super rates in PvP and the chaining of supers in PvP. It doesn't specify here, but I really have a feeling it's geared towards PvP just because some of those weapons or some of the supers we talked about earlier are now dropping more orbs in PvE. Well now drops 3 instead of 2. Bubble drops 3 instead of 2. So I have a feeling this is actually going to be more towards, the super chaining.
Yeah.
In PvP. But which might not be a bad thing. But, it's also, we don't know how super mods are going to work or if there's going to be super mods in, Armor 2.0.
I mean, they mentioned, and we've seen some super mods before, that's definitely going to be a thing. And they want that trade-off, I think, between you choosing that mod over a different mod because you have only so much energy to put those mods in. So I don't see it as much as a bad thing, I think, and I definitely don't. I do see it as a drop down in what is possible in PvE, but I just feel like we're so strong and we always have our super up in PvE that I don't think it'll affect us too much. But you are, more of a PvE person than I do, so I definitely like hearing your opinion on that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in chat right now, how you're only getting maybe 1, maybe 2 supers per strike, versus now it's 4 or 5. Man, as a strike speedrunner, I don't really feel like I'm getting 4 or 5 supers a strike. So,
Huh.
I think it would depend on the strike, and if you're talking about nightfalls where you're taking it a little slower for score.
Yeah.
Um, Again, it's so hard unless you have your hands on it.
Right.
It's such a feel thing.
Yeah.
Like there's certain times where it's like, yes, I'm using the masterwork weapon. I know I'm getting a little more super energy through here. So maybe it actually encourages people to actually masterwork weapons a little bit more, just for that extra help. Now, where like I've kind of stopped at this point, just knowing everything's coming up to 750, and we're going to be hitting the new meta and all that. Just waiting to see what everything is, and just hoarding my enhancement cores.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you for sure. Well, like you said, we'll see how it plays out. It's just a bunch of numbers on a sheet right now. We'll see what happens. We talked a little bit about the damage multipliers, like the buffs and nerfs. Basically, like they're not, and we've talked about it previous weeks when they announced it. They just gave specific numbers now to the different things. The main things are, let's see here. I'll just give the general, their ideology here is bonus damages, that like player bonuses. So they're saying that it doesn't stack. You can buff or nerf players, and you can buff or nerf in the enemy, but they don't stack on each other. For like, you can't stack a buff on top of a buff for a player. You can just stack a buff on a player and like a nerf on an enemy, and that's it. And then you could do individual guns for those different players too. But things like Empowering Rift, Frontal Assault, Guiding Flame, Sun Warrior, Inertia Override, Well of Radiance, Lumina Noble Rounds, and Weapons of Light, those don't stack on each other. But one thing that's interesting here is this is notable exception, Vengeance on One-Eyed Mask. So you're telling me that like Inertia Override and Vengeance are still gonna stack? That's just funny. I don't know that everybody hates One-Eyed Mask so much. It's just funny that it's gonna continue to be hated throughout this time.
I'm a Titan main. I don't hate
it. I'm a Titan main, and I still kind of am annoyed by it. I never like hate it, but I'm just like, oh, okay, it's One-Eyed Mask. I get it. And so they list out the different bonus damage that you get from stuff. So bonus damage, Frontal Assault 20%, Sun Warrior 20%, Well of Radiance 25%, and Weapons of Light 35%. So 10% more damage bonus from Weapons of Light compared to Well of Radiance. I thought it was pretty interesting. Even though when you're in Well of Radiance, it makes sense because Well of Radiance, you're open and you can fire outside and still be being healed while you're in it. Whereas Weapons of Light, if you have the overshield, you can't shoot out of it. So of course you would get more damage for taking the risk, or you get bonus damage for taking the risk to step outside of your safe area. Like that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, the new PvE meta is going to be, popping a well right outside a bubble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you still have the damage, and you still have the, buff.
Do you think it'll be worth it to run? This will be interesting. Worth it to run Well of Radiance over a different Warlock that is just running the Overshield Rift? Because what if you could have another super? Like, what if you had? Because isn't what's the name of that? The Unlimited Power Warlock super, Chaos Reach. If you're using Chaos Reach, that does a ton of damage to PvE bosses, and you can still set down a Rift that heals people outside of the Weapons of Light, and then pop your Chaos Reach from far away while being buffed by Weapons of Light, and you're still healing people inside your Rift. That sounds like a good idea. I don't know. I'm not a super huge raid person, so I don't know, but I could just see the pros and cons being weighed now instead of just like, run this. This is the way to go.
I completely understand your question, and it's like, as you're asking that, I'm trying to like run that scenario through like every raid encounter for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's been so weird. I feel like recently, everything has been really up close.
Yeah.
So like especially with Crown, like Crown just I think exacerbated all of the issues we are having right now because it was such an up close fight. There were hardly any real enemies to deal with other than Thrall, which you
Hmm.
could just survive in a well.
Yeah.
And you could get right up on the boss where you could even punch him for your empowering melee in a well and just spam grenade launchers.
Hmm.
Um, as fun of a, I am doing air quotes that you can't see raid that Crown is. I mean, let's be honest, it's a raid layer. Um, it is kind of what it is. I haven't run any of the Leviathan raids other than the original one with all this new stuff, but
Right.
I'd be interested to see how all of that would work
Mm-hmm.
at our power level,
Yeah.
because obviously we're overpowered for everything now and it's a quick melt.
Yeah.
But it I wish we had a couple of weeks to play around with these changes before Shadowkeep, so like we as a community could just come up with strats and all right, what's the new meta, how is what
Uh-huh.
works best now. I get why they're saving it for Shadowkeep. They're going to make us learn on the fly, but you know, I'm I'm expecting with what is it going to be like 5 days after Shadowkeep drops before the new raid drops.
That's exactly what I was thinking about is how short of a
People are
time that is.
people are going to run the raids. I don't. We have no idea how powering is going to work moving forward. Um, but I'm sure there's going to be people. Glad Datto
Mm-hmm.
are going to be running these things and just testing and seeing. They're going to do the hard work for us.
Well, it's interesting because you can kind of do some of the hard work now. Like now that we can't auto reload stuff, we know that now, and so they're gonna be not using mountaintop for everything because that's not really gonna be an option. Like you know how annoying it would be to single shot reload mountaintop for every shot like that's not gonna be meta anymore. And so it's just gonna be interesting to see what they come up with as the ultimate strategy.
Yeah, and it'll be just like it is every season. I mean, how many people were running grenade launchers, you know, 6 7 months ago?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Uh, we just got a little bit more of this TWAB to get through. There is some more debuffs because that was the buffs that are changing. We've also got the debuffs. Incoming PvE damage for Shadow Shot is now down to 5% to 30%. It was 35. Incoming PvP damage now 50%. It was 55%. Tractor Cannon was a really interesting one because now it's an even 30% for all elements. It's not just Void anymore. They took out the extra damage for Void, and it's all 30% for PvE and 50% for PvP. It used to be for Void 50% in PvE, but now it's only 30%. So that's interesting too. It kind of took away a little bit of the hey, you have to run this Void weapon if you're going to use Tractor Cannon, which is I guess fine, but it does limit, like you can't just melt people like you used to be able to.
Yeah, it's gonna just open up more of that heavy weapon
Yeah,
slot. I think. I mean, I still think spike grenade launchers are still going to be fine. It's just going to be whatever you can run, whatever one you want. I think I've got spike grenade version of all of them. But I know KB was talking about Wendigo being
uh,
really, really, really good.
yeah,
Assuming you're going to be firing near your weapons of light and Will of Radiance to
right.
have that orb buff and
Interesting.
everything.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
didn't even think about that. That you're gonna be getting all those orbs, so you could even like grab some orbs, shoot, and then use your super, grab more orbs, that sort of thing. That's cool.
yeah, again, it's going to be, I think, a lot of fun trying to figure out the new meta.
Yeah.
It's
And then Hammer Strike. This was crazy too to me. Hammer Strike's gonna be the one of the best things to use because it is 30% now debuff to all enemies in PvE, which is the same as Tractor Cannon and Shadow Shot. So yeah, it just kind of evens out whichever one you decide to use, whatever debuff you decide to use. And the duration has been increased from 6 seconds to 10 seconds, which is really nice because if you were the hammer striker person, you basically, that's all you did. You didn't by the time you got back to the well or wherever you were, you're like, okay, damage phase is done now, you know.
As a Titan main, yes, I feel that pain.
So that's kind of nice.
I was doing that a lot. The damage drop off from 50 to 30 though is going to be felt by everybody.
Oh yeah, for all those things, yeah, and shattering strike too. Incoming PV damage also to 30%, and that duration increase from 6 to 10%. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're gonna feel it for sure. The last big thing before we take off here, we've got the super damage resistance. Basically, they know roaming supers are way too strong. Supers in general, you can't do anything about them. They want you to have a chance. And we don't know what changes are coming to weapons as well, because they say at the end of this, next week we'll be taking a look at how your arsenal of weaponry will be changing. And I feel like this is kind of a lead into that. But they're starting with super damage resistance is coming down. And they didn't say, I thought they would say it, but they didn't say it. They what is going to take someone out of the shooter super? What is it going to take? Like, is it a high impact sniper headshot? Like, these numbers don't really tell me that. Maybe someone like Fallout, can do the math. But I am not sure what these numbers really mean. Because even in the low resilience of so inherent super damage resistance, even in the low category they have here, went from 54% damage resistance to 49%. And that's Nova Warp, Thunder Crash, Blade Barrage, Nova Bomb, and Well of Radiance. And I don't know, is that a one-shot headshot in their super with a high impact sniper rifle? I don't know. It's just a bunch of percentages,
It's probably hard to tell because I think also the damage resistance on that character matters. Mm-hmm. They did say that the masterwork armor affecting the impact, your super resistance is going to be removed. And I know I have masterwork armor on a lot of my characters, but I don't even remember how much of an impact that plays at this point.
Yeah. Huh.
So I feel like there's a lot of moving in here that we just don't really know.
Yeah. Apparently I'm dropping frames live. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm not sure what is going on. Hopefully it evens out soon. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But we're almost done here with the cast, so we're going to go ahead and finish it out for everybody listening on audio. I'm not going to read off the rest of these numbers because, like we said before, it's just a bunch of percentages. Just know that they are adjusting the super resistance. Hopefully we'll be able to take them out easier. The last thing that I kind of want to end on, we're not going to do any we're doing plenty of communication. We're not going to do any Twitter questions because the rest of the cast isn't here. But I did want to end on, because we started with the armor, kind of ending with the armor here in the TWAB. We're bringing back all the armor from all of Destiny 2 that's going to have armor 2.0, basically. They mentioned the reprisal, but it's a list of basically all the locations from Destiny 2. So, Loki, my question for you and for myself is, what is the first armor 2.0 set you're going to be chasing? Is it one of these new armor sets, or is it going to be an old armor set that you're like, ooh, I really liked the armor from blank or blank, and I want the 2.0 version of it?
Oh boy, that's tough because I know I'm going to be chasing power first and foremost.
I was thinking you were gonna answer with the escalation protocol stuff.
That is definitely high on the list of the pretty armor that I want to get. But early on, I am really just going to be chasing power. It's going to depend if the raid gear still levels you up or not.
Right.
I love a lot of the crown gear, especially on the hunter.
Right.
The hunter Connoisseur's gear looks so badass. But I don't know. We're kind of in the dark right now as to what the best ways to level up are going to be. Like I'm kind of just stocking high, level bounties and everything.
I'm pretty sure it's
Like,
going to be Shadowkeep stuff because they mentioned before, Luke Smith said he wanted the best way to level up would be to play the content that is this season, So that makes me think it's going to be Season of the Undying, the new Strikes, whatever the new, ranking system is for the season. All that stuff is going to seem to be the way to level up.
yeah, I'm hoping that's true because that's what I want it to be. I don't want to play old content to level up, which was part of the problem earlier on. But I don't know. I'm hoping, the fact that a lot of this stuff it will be dropping 2.0 will give incentive to people to go back and play some of this old stuff, especially with the influx that hopefully New Light will bring in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my answer would be that Titan armor from Titan is still some of the coolest stuff, which is funny because it kind of looks like the Shadowkeep moon armor that you don't like, like it looks all like, I know some of it looks really goofy, but it's got some of the best Titan shoulder pads. They're all like skinny, like fit stuff, so, but also of course, like I said, all the new, like I think the new Iron Banner helmet is one thing that I'll for sure be going for. That chest piece from the premium set. I also like the entire, I don't think it looks very good with the shader they have it on here for, but the seasonal and rank activities armor, it looks all like woodlandsy in the rotating thing on the TWAB, but I think I think it'll look really cool with some shaders. And then the moon set, I like it all. The probably my least favorite is the raid set actually. Like the arms look really cool. And I love the Vexy look, but I don't know. It all looks cool. It all looks good. And actually, this my favorite part of this whole thing, and I think it's hilarious, is the Eververse is the worst looking armor to me. Like, I think that's like the armor that I don't care for the most, which is great. What a change, Like, I'm used to all of Destiny 2. Eververse has the best stuff every single time, and for once, I'm just like, eh.
Oh, God, that Titan helm.
I know.
It's like if you need someone to level a shelf for, there you go.
It does look like that. Oh my gosh. Give you a perfectly right angle here. Hold on. Jeez. Well, Loki, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody who's listening live. I know we've had some technical difficulties because Lego is streaming for the first time like ever. I know we lost some frames. Thank you all for sticking with us. But also thank you to Blue Microphones and Headphones, our sponsor. Even Loki, I think, is using a Blue microphone right now. And I just want to thank them for sponsoring this podcast. BlueMic.com. If you're looking for some great microphones and headphones, go check them out. If you're wanting to find more about Team Resolute, which the team Loki and I are both a part of, our clan fam, Resolute, you can find more about them at Team Resolute on Twitter. You can talk to us at RezoCast on Twitter, and you can join our Discord where we're all hanging out a lot. I know I haven't been in there as much this week, but all you listeners have been in there and keeping up with all the news, and I love seeing y'all just blow up with whatever is going on right now and freak out about everything. It's great. And we have our community questions there too, which I know we didn't do this week, but I think there's good enough reason not to. Excited to get back to those next week. Loki, where can they find you, man? Around the internet, what can they find you doing?
At Loki Kills All on the Twitter, Darth Loki on PSN, and I honestly don't even remember what I am on BNet at this point, just because it's like, why bother? Because we're about 3 weeks away from Steam, so
yeah, dude, Steam, can't wait. It's cool too because I use Steam for PUBG, and so it'll be nice to have everybody on the same friends list, so I know if someone's on Destiny, I can see that when I'm playing PUBG. And I can swap over, or they can see that I'm playing that if they're playing Destiny and want to swap over, play with me. Like, that'll be cool. I know you can see that in Discord, but it's just always nice to see it in one place, you know. So that'll be cool. This has been Lego, aka Legoli Flash. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube at Lego Ellie Flash. I think that is it for episode 149 Lego Cast feat Loki. You got anything else before we go, man?
I think I'm good.
Awesome. Well, until next time, everyone. GG.